Suddenly became worried that you accidentally had come on Stewardship Sunday. Don't worry. It's not a stewardship sermon tonight. Well, not completely. Look at the epistle appointed for today. The second reading. St. Paul says to the Romans, "For while we were still weak, at the right time, Christ died for the ungodly. For one will scarcely die for a righteous person, though perhaps for a good person one would dare even to die. But God shows his love for us in that while we were still sinners, Christ died for us." This is one of the greatest treatises on salvation ever written. Particularly salvation as a completely and utterly free gift of God. He makes it clear, abundantly clear, that salvation was given to us when we did not deserve it, when we were still sinners. That would be like catching your employees surfing the web and texting when they're supposed to be working, and instead of firing them, you go over there and you give them some extra pay. We were in the midst of sinning, and even so, Christ chose to die for us. This is a game changer for us. That's why it's so important. Because what this means is that all we have to do is make it through this life, and the gates of the mansion are thrown open wide for us. Jesus says, "In my Father's house are many rooms. If it were not so, would I have told you I'd go to prepare a place for you? And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come again and will take you to myself, and where I am, there you may be also, and you know the way to where I'm going." He has gone. And you and I are waiting for his return, either at our death or at the end of the world. But that's when we receive the kingdom of heaven. It is a done deal. We are set. So, what now? See, that's what we have to wrestle with today. Now, what do we do with ourselves for the foreseeable future until we inherit the fullness of the kingdom? What does eternal life in paradise, being freely given to us, mean for the little bit of time that we have left in this world? And it is just a little bit of time, no matter what age you are. I mean, I know that when you're sitting in 8th period algebra, time seems to slow way down. And when the basement has flooded for the 3rd time this month, time seems like it's in a loop. But we know, even so, that the time that we have on this earth is really minute. When the people were in Egypt, our Old Testament reading for today, God gave them some instructions for life as they had just come out. And those instructions are recorded for us in that Old Testament reading today. See, like we are delivered from the captivity of sin and the devil, so the people of God in Israel were delivered from slavery in Egypt. And they too, like us, were delivered freely, without cost. And here is what God expected from them. In our Old Testament reading today, he says, "Now therefore, if you will indeed obey my voice and keep my covenant, you shall be my treasured possession among all peoples. For all the earth is mine. And you shall be to me a kingdom of priests, a holy nation. keep my covenant. Well, what covenant would that be? He was about to give it a little bit later. The Ten Commandments. See, prior to this day, God had bound himself to his people through the Abrahamic covenant. God promised Abraham that he would be the father of many nations and that God would be his God. God bound himself to Abraham. It was 100% God's doing out of God's love for his people. And that kind of devotion is really overwhelming. I mean, how should we as a people respond to that kind of love and devotion from God? And the answer is the Ten Commandments. See, we too often think of the Ten Commandments as burdens, rules that we have to keep. Sometimes we even ignore them because we know that we're not perfect at keeping them, so we just throw them out. But the Ten Commandments give us the opportunity to give back to God. To give something of ourselves to the one who loved us that much. Maybe you remember, like I do, my mother saying things like, for her birthday this year, all she wants is for the kids to get along together. And as a kid, I can remember thinking how dumb that was. Who cares whether I get along with my brothers and sister? What do you really want? What kind of present? But you know what? Now, as a father, I completely understand what she was talking about. I love seeing my kids have fun together. The thing Danya and I miss most in life right now is lying in bed on Friday night and listening to the kids and their friends in the living room cutting up and laughing over some mindless show on Comedy Central. It brings parents great joy when their kids are getting along and having fun with one another and caring about one another. Well, where do you think we get that? It brings God great joy when we, his kids, get along and are kind to one another and care for one another. So then we come to the gospel, we see Jesus sending his disciples into the world, and the point of that was not to cause trouble for us, not to make some kind of grandiose political statement, not to threaten all of those sinners out there with eternal damnation unless they shape up. But Jesus said it was to heal the sick, raise the dead, cleanse lepers, cast out demons. That is, they were to address the ills and the sorrows of their society of that day. Today, maybe Jesus wouldn't say those same things. Maybe he would say to go out and drive those people who cannot drive and work for equal treatment for everybody and to show love and compassion to people who are hurting. See, the point is, as it almost always is, it's not about us. It's not about what we want or what we need. Because we're already taken care of for all eternity. We have received all of that freely. And Jesus finishes up with looking at his disciples, it's us, and reminding us, you have received freely. Now freely give. In that way we keep God's covenant. We love him with all our heart and all our mind and all our soul when we love our neighbors as ourselves. Okay, so maybe it is a stewardship sermon. But it's not about money. It's a sermon about our stewardship for our love for others. About our stewardship of the time we give to others. About the stewardship of our devotion to serving God by serving others. See, we're pretty darn good around here at writing checks. I mean, we're not rich and sitting on the top of the world, fat and happy, but we're paying the bills, we're buying boilers and putting on roofs. But sometimes we are sorely lacking in some other ways of giving. We're sometimes struggling to put others first in ways that actually mean interacting with them. Our Sunday school and our youth group should be bursting at the seams according to the numbers of people at age bracket and our roles. But people are too busy to teach Sunday school. People are too busy to bring their children to church for Christian education. People need to sleep, they need to work, they need to go out and have breakfast instead of serving God, instead of being here with their children. Our pews we should be fighting for space. Judging from the fact that we only seat about 400 and we have over 600 on the rolls, people are too busy. They're too busy to be there worshiping all the time the one who provided them with eternity. And those that are actually here, those of us in this room, apparently are just too busy to invite others, to invite neighbors and friends. We're not shabby at writing checks, but we're a little bit like spoiled rich kids who lie on the couch and play video games while mom's out mowing the grass. And then when she gets in, we say, "We don't have any clothes that are clean. Why haven't you washed clothes?" This place, folks, will not run by itself. It was not designed to do that. God's people run God's house. Jesus, the Father of this house, he speaks to us in the gospel. We're told when he saw the crowds, he had compassion for them because they were harassed and helpless like sheep without a shepherd. That is, they were people who think that work and sleep and sports and going out are all more important than worship, all more important than Bible study. That's the problem Jesus saw. So what did Jesus do about it? He said to his disciples, that would be us, to whom he was speaking. Did you know, by the way, that we had to cancel our booth for Summerfest this year? Because nobody could be bothered to sit in it and talk to people from the community. Did you know that we have no one to serve as director of Christian education? So who's going to coordinate Sunday school and the music school and the nursery school? Anyway, Jesus said to us, the harvest is plentiful, but the laborers are few. Therefore pray earnestly to the Lord of the harvest to send out laborers into his harvest. And then he called the 12 disciples and gave them authority over unclean spirits to cast them out and to heal every disease and every affliction. These 12 Jesus sent out instructing them, "Go to the lost sheep of the house of Israel and proclaim as you go, saying, the kingdom of heaven is at hand. Heal the sick, raise the dead, cleanse lepers, cast out demons. You have received without pay. Give without pay." We're pretty darn decent at writing checks, and that's good because this place needs income to continue serving God. But now that Jesus has paid for our salvation, now that Jesus has secured paradise for us, now that eternity is an absolute certainty for us, well, what are we doing? Are we just going to sit on the couch and watch TV while the grass turns into a jungle around us in hopes that mom might mow it? We're going to use every dish until every dish is dirty and then we'll just order pizza? Are we going to do like so many parishes I see do all around this country and click our tongues and shake our heads as the for sale sign goes up on the front lawn and wonder why no one did anything before it came to this?